Hey everyone, if you're in English language teaching, you know that our classrooms are just full of little mysteries, right? Why does one activity get everyone buzzing and another one just fizzles out? Well, today we're going to demystify the whole research process. We'll break down exactly how to turn those everyday classroom questions into some really powerful and insightful research.
So, here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the big picture, what the research cycle actually looks like. Then, we'll zoom in on what I think is the most important part, crafting a great research question. After that, we'll get into the weeds with variables, cover the absolutely essential ethics, and then we'll look at how to wrap it all up.
So where does a big research project even begin? You might be picturing a sterile lab, maybe a white coat, but nope. The best research often starts with a real-world problem, something you've been wrestling with right there in your own classroom.
That initial spark, it's what researchers call a critical incident. You know that moment. It's that thing that happens in class that you just can't shake. Maybe you've noticed your students seem to totally shut down during speaking tasks, and you're just racking your brain trying to figure out why. That feeling, that little question of, wait, what is going on here? That, my friends, is the real starting line for inquiry.
And once you have that spark, it kicks off this whole cycle. You start with that problem you've identified. Then, you do a little homework. You see what other teachers and researchers have already said about it. That helps you sharpen your idea into a really specific, focused question. From there, you go out and collect your data, you analyze it to find the patterns, and then, and this is key, you share what you've learned, which helps everyone and, just might spark the next big question.
All right, this next part, it's a total game changer. Seriously, it's probably the most important piece of the entire puzzle, crafting your research question. If you can nail this one step, I promise everything else just falls into place so much more easily.
Just think of your research question as the compass for your whole journey. It does more than just point you in the right direction. It literally guides every single decision you're going to make from here on out. What methods to use, what data to look for, how you're going to analyze it. Everything has to point back to that one central question.
And that's the big question, isn't it? Having a curious idea is great, but a real research question needs to be solid. It has to be focused. And, most importantly, it has to be answerable. So, how do we actually build one that works? Well, lucky for us, there's a fantastic framework for that.
It's called the FINER criteria. It's like a 5-point inspection for your question. First up, is it feasible? I mean, for real, can you actually do this with the time and resources you have? Is it interesting? It has to be interesting to you because you're the one who's going to be working on it. Is it novel? Is it adding something new to the conversation? Is it ethical? We'll talk more about that in a bit. And finally, is it relevant? Will the answer actually matter to you and other teachers? If you get 5 yeses, you've got a winner.
Okay, our compass is set. We have our question. Now it's time to get into the nitty-gritty, the actual building blocks of your study. In research, we call these variables. They're the specific, measurable things that are going to help us find the answer we're looking for.
And at its heart, it's pretty simple. It really boils down to cause and effect. The cause is what you, the researcher, change or introduce. That's your independent variable, like a brand new teaching technique you're trying out. The effect is what you measure to see if your change made a difference. That's your dependent variable, things like student test scores or how fluently they're speaking.
But it's never quite that simple in the real world, is it? Sometimes a third thing can come in and change the whole dynamic. We call this a moderator variable. For example, maybe your amazing new technique works wonders, but only for your advanced students. For beginners, it does nothing. In that case, the student's prior proficiency is the moderator. It's altering that cause and effect relationship.
So, to make sure you're really measuring the impact of your new technique and not a dozen other things, you have to keep some stuff the same for everyone. These are your control variables, things like using the same textbook for all groups or making sure they get the same amount of instruction time. By controlling for these, you can be way more confident that any changes you see are actually because of your intervention. Okay, let's pause here, because this next topic is a big one. It's absolutely non-negotiable. I'm talking about research ethics. When you're working with people, especially your students, you have a huge responsibility. These aren't just suggestions, they're protections for the people who are trusting you. And look, the number one rule is this: your awesome research goals can never be more important than the well-being of the people in your study. Their safety, their privacy, their rights, they always, and I mean always, come first. In practice, this really comes down to 3 core ideas. First, informed consent. Every single person involved has to understand what the study is about and know they can walk away at any time for any reason, no pressure. Second, anonymity and confidentiality. You have to fiercely protect their identities. And third, you'll probably need to get approval from an institutional review board, or an IRB. That's basically an ethics committee that'll review your plan to make sure it's fair and safe for everybody.
All right, deep breath. We've got our question. We know our variables. Our ethics are all squared away. Now, it's time to bring it all home. We're on the final leg of the journey, figuring out what it all means and sharing it with the world.
This is the really cool part. This is where all those numbers or interview notes start to tell you their story. Maybe you're running some stats, or maybe you're poring over transcripts looking for common themes. But once you've found your answer, you complete the cycle by sharing it. Maybe in an article, or a thesis, or a conference presentation, so your hard work can help other teachers tackle their own classroom puzzles.
And when you lay it all out like this, you can really see how all the pieces just lock together into one solid plan, right? Your finer question drives which variables you're going to measure. Your ethical principles act as guardrails for the whole project. And your plan for reporting makes sure your discovery doesn't just sit on a shelf. It all flows together.
So there you have it. We've walked the entire path, from one of those little, that's weird moments in the classroom, all the way to a finished study. And that really just leaves one last question, for you. What's that classroom puzzle, that critical incident, that you're going to solve first?